everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. So, for those that do join, welcome. Thank you for joining me. For those that haven't or don't join and want to watch it later, hope you find it enjoyable. Just let me know in the comments that you do. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about 400 meter and 800 meter group. Okay. There is a group, or at the very least, in my experience, there should be a group. Okay. And how to train them in the fall, whether they're running cross country or not cross country, because this is a situation that presents itself. Okay, and I've seen it a lot. Whether in high school, you may not have enough depth in your team, right? Or in college, it happens unfortunately, but less often. But how do you prepare the athletes in the fall to transition into the track season, right? And I'm going to put this, I'm going to make this clear. What you do in the fall does not replace what you didn't do over the summer. What you do in the fall builds on what you did in the summer. Okay, so if you want to have your athletes ready, or if you want to be ready for the for track season, I highly encourage you to listen in on this. I think you're going to find it helpful. And again, let's get right into this. For those that are, if you're an athlete and a coach, welcome. If it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. And if you enjoy the content, again, hit the like and the subscribe button. I don't want you to miss any valuable content. And we can talk about anything. And you can always ask questions and have them answered live time. So I always look at the comments here on the live streams. So with that said, we're going to get right into this. Again, the 480 meter, 800 meter group, does it make sense in high school and college? That's one question to ask. I've seen both scenarios. This is one reason why I'm talking about this, right? And I don't hear any other coaches talking about this. So how do you train them to compete in the fall and have them ready for winter and indoor track? Or if it's you, how do you train to have yourself ready to compete in the fall and get yourself ready for track? This is a very valid question. Okay. And I'm not talking about the 400, 200 meter group. That's a different group. I'm talking about people who run the 400 and 800 with some type of regularity, not somebody who runs the 400 all the time and runs the 800 maybe once every 3 months. That's not who I'm talking about here. Okay. So this is a thing. And I talk about this on a regular basis on here and on my TikTok account. So, and again, so let's just say you have 12 weeks in the fall, 12-week season, including obviously you did your summer build up, and this gives you an opportunity to start early and count back at the end of the cross country season for 12 weeks. So I break it in 3 cycles of 4 weeks, 2 workouts per week. Okay, with Tuesday being the cross country type workout, and Friday being the more 400, 800 conditioning workout, right? Okay, that way you're not having to do 2 cross country workouts per week. Okay, for the 400 800, it's actually a good thing to have some race specificity in there, and you can have 12 weeks of it in the cross country season. That makes it easier for them to transition. But the long workout on Tuesday also helps to build that collective and cumulative strength, so that when they transition into track, they can withstand 6 months of racing, indoor and outdoor, right? And there has to be, in my opinion, again, it has to be a balance of both. Okay, and you can see here I test readiness at weeks 4 and week 8 and week 12. Readiness for the 4 and the 8. Okay, all along the way. That way you can track. And again, we get a slide off. This allows you to coach with the eye, right? Allows you to see how my athlete's progressing, but also gives the athletes an opportunity to have something to look forward to, keep them engaged. You can even say, you get your spikes on after workout or whatever it might be. And you test them, and it gives them an opportunity to kind of get into their specialty even a little bit every 4 weeks. And to me, it's a way of rewarding them for consistent bouts of training. Okay. So let's get right back into this. Okay. Like I said, this is more applicable for high school runners. So it has happened in college, but rarely. But a 400, 800 meter group runs the longer event more than once in a season. Like I said, you could be running the 400 and come back in the 4x8. You can run the 800 and come back in the 4x4. You can run the 500, the 600 several times, and so on. Right. And that's the cool thing about this. It sets you up to be strong enough to run both races at a track meet if you need to do that as well. Now, I don't recommend running multiple races every single track meet, but it sets you up to be ready to do that if need be, especially later on in the season when it's going to matter more than early in the season. So, like I said, and I'll add this too, the longer workouts get faster all throughout the fall, meaning every week you're going to intentionally get faster to set you up for the 4th week of testing. Okay. There's an interchangeable nature on this too, because let's just say, I'll give you a couple examples. You, your high school coach or your high school coach says, okay, well, I'm going to sit 3 of my top 7 in cross country because whatever. I don't want to race them this weekend, or they have the SATs all on the same day. This happens on a regular basis. This is a regular, occurrence. So, and again, so I'm going to need my 4 800. I'm going to need threes to hop in. No, I'm not really prioritizing what you do at this meet. This is an opportunity to get your feet wet, to get some rust busting going on, okay, and just get out there and race a little bit. And it gives me an idea to check your fitness. If that happens, then you'll see I switch to Tuesday, Friday workouts. Okay, the Friday 400 meter workout becomes the Tuesday workout, and the Tuesday workout becomes the race that week. Okay, that way, again, you're still getting what you need to do to transition you later on in the track, and then the race becomes the aerobic session for the week, the longer session for the week. Okay, just keep that in mind as well. Now, let's get right into this. Weeks 1 through 4. Okay, the Tuesday workout, 3 times a 2K with a 4-minute recovery. What you run is what you run. Okay, then you do the following week. Actually, no, Friday that week, 5 times 1K at threshold. Okay, 1-minute recovery, and then you do some 150s on the back end. You can start at 800 meter pace and work your way down to 400 meter pace on the back end. Let's just say you're doing 3 of them. Okay, now week 2, 4 times 1600 with a 330 recovery, and again, the rest periods are a little bit longer here. They would be a little bit shorter for the distance type group. Okay, then the Friday workout would be 6 times 800 with a 2-minute recovery at 5K pace. So you went from threshold pace week 1 to VO2 max pace week 2. Okay, and then you do a couple hundreds on the back end. So we're always touching base with speed on Friday, no matter what. Week 3, then you can do 5 times 1200 with a 3-minute recovery on Tuesday, and Friday you can do 8 times a 200. This is your speed endurance. I talk about 8 by 200 a lot for 400 meter runners. Okay, 8 by 200 with a 2-minute recovery. That's the workout. That's all you need to do that day. Okay, obviously to get a good warm up, you can do a tempo rep in the beginning to get the heart rate up, and then you do a cool down, of course. That's week 3. And then what you do in between with the runs is up to you as an athlete or a coach to decide how you want to build the runs. I would still encourage folks to do a long run, but a couple of short recovery runs too. Okay, and then week 4 is 3 times 1600 with a 330 recovery again on Tuesday, and then you're testing yourself or your athletes at 400 meters that week, Friday. Okay, test my 400, get spikes on, see how fast their 400 is. And let's just say you have athletes looking to run 2 minutes that year, right? But I'm just giving you an arbitrary example. Can they come through in 59 or 60 pretty easily to the 400? That's what you're looking for as an indicator, right? And again, it's early in the fall. And we just don't know at this point how much running they did collectively over the summer. So I want to be methodical here and spread out the testing for event specificity to make sure that they do enough running leading up to that point. Okay. And if you notice, weeks 1 through 3 for Tuesday is 4 miles worth of volume. So this is when we go early, we go over distance here. And then you're going to see weeks 4, 5, and 6, we cut it from 4 miles to 3 miles. Okay. Because the high school races in cross country are generally 5K. Okay. So the 4 by 1600 in week 2 goes down to 3 by 1600 in week 4. And you're looking to average a little bit faster for the 3 times 1600 in week 4 than you did 4 reps in week 2, if that makes sense. And again, if anybody has any questions along the way, feel free to ask the questions in the comments. I will answer them lifetime. Now let's go to weeks 5 through 8. Tuesday, 4 times to 1200, rest 330. Again, we went from 5 by 1200 now to 4, right? Then you do 2 times a tempo on Friday. Let's just say 2 times 8 minutes or 2 times 10 minutes, wherever you're at. You take a 2-minute recovery and then you do some 150s on the back end. You can even progress from 800 pace to 400 pace for that. Let's say 3 or 4 times 150. Okay. And then week 6, 5 times a K. Okay. Rest 3 minutes on Tuesday. And then week 6, 5 times an 800 with a 2-minute recovery at 5K pace down to 3K pace. Again, the progression now in VO2 max. So we went from VO2 max in the first cycle at 5K pace. Now we're doing VO2 max from 5K pace down to 3K pace in this cycle. So progressively faster, right? Okay, and then you do some 100s on the back end of it. Okay, we're still doing relatively long reps, but we're sneaking in speed along the way. And again, this is the time to build this type of strength, right now in the fall, because you'll be more likely doing more event specific stuff multiple times in a week during the track season. So this is when you can do it. Okay. Week 7, 4 times the 1200. Again, the 330 recovery. Repeating. Okay. You can even cut that back if you want, but I wouldn't cut it back just yet. We'll do 4 times 1200. Again, you look at average faster in week 7 than you did in week 5. Those are the indicators of improved fitness. Okay, and then week 7, then you go from 8. You go from 8 by 200 in week 3 to 9 by 200 here in week 7. Looking to add a 200, you're going to try to average the same amount of pace. Okay, and again, if you're looking to run 2 minutes, this is the time you want to run 29, 30 for these 200s with regularity. Right, that's also going to help build collective strength for the 400 as well. Okay, if you're looking to run 220, you're going to run them in 34, 35. Looking to run 230, 36, 37, and so on. You're looking to run 240, you're looking to run them in 39, 40. Okay, now before I go any further, we have a question here. Pax, how are you? You're an 800, 1600 meter guy. Your main event is 800. You think training more like an 8.4 guy would be better to stay with 8.16? I would encourage you to come next listen in next Friday as well. But this you'll find helpful too. Okay, next weekend's going to be 800, 1500 meter training in the fall for people that whether you run cross country or not. But all this type of stuff. Okay, and you'll see PAX too. I incorporate a lot of speed development in my cross country training plans. So that makes it easier for 800, 1600 meter runners to transition more effectively in track. But the 800 and 1600 meter runners are more applicable, more appropriately running cross country than the 8.4 guys. But this is a good question because there are some slight differences. So for 800, 1600 meter run, you'll probably see a little bit more tempo running there. Okay. Instead of the 2 times tempo, you'll see a continuous tempo, right? You'll see, and then some 200, some longer reps at the end of the tempo run to make it a little bit more applicable to the 8.16. But for 8.16, you're going to see more continuous tempos. You'll see more VO2 max. You'll be a little bit different volume here. And then you'll see that, instead of testing at speed endurance 200, you'll see a little bit difference there, Pax. But it's a good question. So keep bringing your questions, gang. Keep bringing your questions. Okay, now again, back to this. Week 8, 5 times a K, 3-minute recovery. And again, you're looking to improve on what you did in week 6. Okay. And then week 8, you're going to test yourself on Friday. You're going to test them at 500 meters. Can they add 100 meters to what they ran at 400 meter runners in week 4? So I'm using 2 minutes as an example again. Can you run that can you run it now in 114, 115? Right? And if you can get to the point where you can run this and even 600 meters at sub 2 minute pace without even doing multiple workouts per week at your 800 meter pace, that's the whole point of this cycle in cross country, to get you there without having to do a lot of fast stuff, because you can do that. That is possible. Okay. Got another comment. You're welcome, Pax. You're welcome. So this is weeks 5 through 8. Now let's go through weeks 9 through 12. Okay. You'll see the progression again. Now weeks 9, Tuesday, 4 times an 800 meter now. Okay. With a 230 recovery at 3K pace, right? Whatever that might be. Week 9, Friday, 5 times an 800 at threshold. We're going back to threshold again. Week 9, week 5, week 1 is always going to be threshold. 1 minute recovery, and you do one fast 300 at the end. One fast 300, whatever you can run. Okay, and you're doing it at the end of the threshold reps, because that's exactly when you're going to need to deploy your speed and your kick at the end of an 800 meter race. I talk about this a lot on 800 meter training and mile training and so on and so forth. This is how you can sneak some of this into the fall to get you ready for track. Okay. Week 10, Tuesday, 4 times a K, 3-minute recovery. You're going to try to run that at 3K pace. That's a tougher, but it's a more effective indicator of your fitness. Okay, with a 3-minute recovery. Then Friday, you do 6 times a 600 with a 2-minute recovery at 3K pace. That's more VO2 max right here, right? And you see the progression from VO2 max in cycle 1, 5K pace, then 5K pace and 3K pace in cycle 2. You'll see all 3K pace here in cycle 3. Progressively faster as the weeks go on, as the cycles go on, to get you, right, working your way towards what you're going to need to be running during the track season. Okay, week 11, 4 times an 800 with a 230 recovery. Again, repeating what you did week 9, but looking for improvement there. Okay. And then test yourself again, 10 times a 200 with a 2-minute recovery. You're looking to add a 200 based on what you did before. And again, this is always going to be the week before you test yourself or you test your athletes. Okay. Get that speed endurance in the legs and give yourself at least a week to get ready before you test yourself. Okay. Let that workout be in your legs and get out of your legs. Okay. Then week 12, 5 times the 600 on Tuesday with a 2-minute recovery. Okay. 3K paces. Okay. 3K pace. And then week 12 is when you test yourself or your athletes at 600 meters. Can they run that 600 and 129, 130 off of mostly cross-country training? I've seen it happen very often. And again, this is the point I'm trying to make with this video. Okay. Because you will have athletes that don't race in cross-country who run the 400, 800 meter group. But you might have a couple who might need to run a couple races for whatever need, for whatever reason, right? Coach might need them to run that week because, like I said, they have, half the team really. My 1, 4, and 6 are taking the SATs, so I'm only racing the 2, 3, 5, and 7 1 hour. I need a couple people to step up. I don't care what you run, just get out there and do it. Okay, I need these other folks to race, these other boys or these other girls to race. But I want to add a couple other folks because you don't really have to race your top 7 every single week, especially multiple times per week. Okay, if you want to over race the entire team and have them not ready for championships, that's how to do it. Okay, this is where utilizing the depth on your team can be helpful to you as a coach, right? And this is where again, speaking from experience as a coach too, I've done this with a lot of athletes. And again, when you get to the point where your athletes are ready for track without having to do too much track work, this is why you'll see here the progression from threshold to VO2 max to speed endurance to testing them at an event. Okay, the 4-week cycle of testing 800, 1500 meter runners is a little bit different, right? You'll see the progression there a little bit different than the 400, 800 meter group. But this right here will set your athletes up nicely, will set you up nicely for track. Okay, and again, if anybody has any questions about this, my email is blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. Again, blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. Okay, I have fully detailed training programs for this. Okay, plugging it into the training for the rest of the days. I'm just giving you Tuesday, Friday because that's the workout schedule. Okay, if anybody has any questions or wants me to show them what a week looks like, we can do that as well. Okay, if anybody wants me to customize it for yourself or your athletes, we can do that too. But again, this is a group that's important that is helpful to prepare them during the fall so that they're ready for a long track season, especially the next track season, winter indoor track. That's the longest season, right? You want to get them ready for that. And what they do in the fall, hopefully building off what they did over the summer, is going to really set them up for success. But like I say again, what you do in the fall should not replace what you did not do over the summer. It should build off what you did in the summer. Okay? And keep in mind too, as the weather gets cooler, which it does in the fall, it's easier to get progressively faster in your workouts. Okay? And that's the other objective here too. You're not going to be doing everything in the steaming hot weather. I mean, it'll be warm, right? In September, it'll be cooler. In October, it'll be cool. In November. And at that point, you should be fit enough to be able to run fast. And this cycle helps set you up for that. Okay, so if anybody else has any other questions, I'm here. I'll give you another minute or so. Otherwise, I'm going to let you go enjoy your Memorial Day weekend holiday. And thanks so much for everybody that came on. Thank you, Pax, for your comments and your questions. Okay, hopefully it made sense. If it helped, if it was helpful, hit the thumbs up. And again, anybody that sees this that's not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, I like to talk about stuff that not only helps athletes, but I like to talk about stuff that other coaches don't talk about with each other or with other athletes. So these are the types of areas where you can improve around the margins and really set yourself up for success. I see a lot of teams that are heavily endurance, heavily sprint, and so on and so forth, and a lot of athletes fall through the cracks, right? Are kind of ignored. I don't want that to happen. This is why I do things like this. You have something at your disposal now that you can say, okay, this group here of 4 or 5 athletes, let's set them up and get them ready for track season. You never know who can turn into a valuable weapon for your team. That's why I do stuff like this as well. I want you to have a well-balanced approach, a well-balanced team. Okay. And somebody can step up and be, you never know. One of these folks can wind up being your number 3 or number 4. And I had a kid in my high school, when I was in high school, he did the same thing, came in as a 200, 400 guy, and he wound up running like 150 in the 800 and wound up being eventually our number 2 cross country guy. He was number 1 for a while, and then he was number 2 as a senior. Okay. So, and he was clearly our top. He was sub 50. He was around 150. He was also about a 301 leg on a DMR and a 1200. So he was saying when he ran that 150, it was like a negative split, like a 56 point and a 53 point or something like that, a 56 point and a 54 point. So he was every bit a talented runner as I've ever seen. So, but that's what we got for you, gang. So I hope you enjoyed this. And again, if you have any questions, send them to me. Have a great holiday weekend, gang. Talk to you next time.